Hello and howdy. Welcome to Angular Air, the podcast all about all things Angular. I am so excited for today's guest, but before we get to them, we're going to introduce our panelists. So joining us today on our panel, we have Mike Brocchi. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Sorry, I was muting the video.
He's the one in orange, just in case, because he wasn't.
The one waving. Hey, it's not just Angular. We also have silliness.
Oh, right. Yeah, that too. Yeah. Oh, you'll see. You'll see. If you're new, welcome. We also have with us on the panel Justin Schwartzenberger. Hi, Justin. How you doing?
Hi. This is my serious hi. We're serious here.
So we have not only silliness, but we have seriousness. Two sides to a beautiful coin of a panel. I love it. Thank you, guys. That was beautiful. I am your host, Alyssa Nicoll, and I am so excited to welcome today our guest of honor, Sonu Kapoor. How are you, Sonu?
I'm good. How are you, Alyssa?
Doing great now that I'm here with you, man. I didn't think I was going to make it. The tech check went rough for me. And, I've been doing this for a long time. So it's pretty embarrassing when, the guest does better at tech check than me. But I'm here now. And I am so excited to talk with you today, especially about this topic. But before we get to that, for those who are new to the community, who may be tuning in for the first time, can you give an intro of yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, my name is Sonu. I am currently very focused on Angular. It has not always been like that, as I think Justin knows. So I've been in the software industry for close to 20 years. I started out with like .NET, a little bit background on the .NET side. I used to have a really cool website 20 years ago almost called .NET Slackers. Some people might still know it.
Is it still up? Is this still up?
It is up, but it's not mine anymore. I shut it down about 10 years ago. But it was pretty cool back then. I would aggregate .NET news and distribute them to anybody who's interested in those. And
I love that.
We started publishing articles and all that. It was crazy. It was a good time.
Do you still do .NET stuff, or are you solidly Angular only?
Yeah, it's only Angular only. Okay. Only Angular. Yeah. So back then I did. So for my contributions, I received the Microsoft MVP award for like 5 years in a row. And I was doing a data analysis of the traffic I used to have, right? So I calculated it down to close to 33 million views that the website received in its entire time, right? It's crazy. And it was amazing. I mean, we had people like Justin, writing for the website, for the site. We had Dino Esposito. He's pretty solid .NET developer, right?
He's real past. That's wild.
Yeah. So when I reached out to Justin, these old memories came back then, when
I love it.
When Facebook was not there or Twitter was not that crazy, right? But yeah, good old time. So yeah, like right now I'm doing Angular only. Very big on front end. I have contributed to the Angular framework itself. I've created over 100 pull requests. I was invited by Google to become a trusted contributor, right? Besides that, I also host 2 podcasts, one for generic topics and another one on Angular topics. And besides that, I also run an online Angular meetup as well, which is in the European time zone. So
I love that. Can you get me links so I can put it in the description so those who aren't live with us here today but watching can check them out in the description?
Yeah, for sure. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Thank you.
All of our guests have so many things going on all the time. We're like, what are you up to? And they list out like 30 things. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
And they still make time to come visit us.
And still, time for us, right?
We appreciate that.
We do. We really do. Oh my goodness. I'm excited for this topic as well. Are you ready for me to share the slide? So that you can tell us what we're diving into today?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, thank you again for having me. So today we're going to dive into a really exciting topic, NgOptimized images in Angular. So we'll explore how this powerful feature can significantly enhance the performance and user experience of your Angular applications. So I already introduced myself. I'm just gonna skip to the next one. So coming to today's topic again, so here's what we will cover. We'll start with the NgOptimizedImage, followed by an interview of the problems associated with traditional images in web development. Then we will explore the key features of the directive and see how it works. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you a small demo of everything that was discussed. The code of that demo is also available in the GitHub repo that you see on the screen. So let's just get started. So the directive was introduced in Angular 14 in dev preview, and I think it was fully operable in 15. I would have to say that it's probably one of the most underused features in many, not only Angular projects, but also in general in web applications, right? So the main goal of this feature is to improve performance and enhance the user experience, which aligns well with the Angular's broader mission to provide developers with powerful tools and simplify development to improve the efficiency of web applications. So what's the problem with traditional images, right? Traditional image handling in web development often leads to significant issues like slow load times, site performance, high bandwidth, especially for users that have a limited data plan or with slower internet speeds. Additionally, ensuring that images are responsive and look good on all devices can be really challenging, requiring a lot of manual adjustments and multiple image versions. So let's see how the directive can help us with that. So unlike the standard image element, this directive can automatically handle image resizing to the source set, lazy loading the images, and using placeholders for a better UI experience or user experience. This makes sure that the user always receives the most optimized version of an image for their device and network conditions. We'll talk about this more in the upcoming slides. So let's start with lazy loading. So this directive can leverage this technique to defer the loading of off-screen images until they're needed. This reduces the initial load time and improves the perceived performance of your application. So all you have to do is add the loading attribute and set it to lazy. So this sounds pretty cool, but you should only use it for images that are not in your viewport, okay? So if you're using images on the first page load that are in your viewport, then you want to load those images as quickly as possible, okay? So while this sounds cool and you're like, okay, let's do it, don't do it, like on your company's logo maybe. So by default, lazy is set to all images that are not marked as priority. So again, be careful with that. When the image is marked with priority, the fetch priority, okay, is also set to high, and loading again is set to eager. Angular will also automatically set the fetch priority to high, giving instructions. Okay, that's important. It's giving instructions to the browser to download the image as soon as possible. Okay, setting the fetch priority can drastically improve the LCP, which is the largest contentful paint. LCP is the loading metric used to identify how long the page takes to load. Okay, this is done by looking at when the largest bit of content is loaded. In many cases, this is like your image on H1 element or something along those things. And obviously, images take longer to display than text. The browser needs to find the image, download it, display it. To help the browser, to make this faster, we set the priority. So to understand this, let's see how this looks without a priority. Okay, so consider the following image that you see here, okay? So by default, now this is very important and very cool actually. So by default, the priority of this image is set to low. So you see it's already on my page, it's in the viewport and everything. So once the browser sees that it's an on-screen image, that it is in the viewport, it automatically changes the priority to high, okay? So first is low, and then it sets it to high. You won't be able to see this in your network unless you go to your network settings and change and check on this big request data, okay? So within there, you can see two priorities at the bottom right. It says low, so first it's low, and then it's high, okay? So why is that important, right? So the browser is essentially doing more work than it has to. If we add the fetch priority, okay, like in this case, and set it to high, then we're telling the browser, okay, this is an important image, and we want you to download it as quickly as possible. So if we do that, we can see in the network tab now that the initial and final priority of the image is set to high. And this is very useful, again, for banners, logos, or anything that should appear as soon as the page is loaded. Any questions so far on the panel?
I love this breakdown to be able to see like the network and this information that you're showing, like to really deep dive into what's going on. And I love the fact, like thinking about just these little things, right? You'd probably say that, oh, the low to the high is not a huge amount of effort or logic or runtime, but being mindful of those things, and addressing them I think is valuable for us.
Exactly. There's a lot of mindset that initially goes of, hey, we need to optimize our application, that initially goes to, hey, I need to make my code faster. But in reality, JavaScript is pretty darn fast, and usually the slowness in applications comes from loading external things, especially images. And videos get compounded, but a lot of pictures are a lot more common.
Yeah, I feel like, images are so easily overlooked because everybody's concentrating on the bundles. It's like, okay, let's lazy load the bundles. Let's make them smaller. Let's uglify them. Let's do everything what we can do there. And images, we don't give any love to them.
Very, very true.
Yeah. So under the hood, so this is what happens when the priority is set. And this is how we use the priority on the directive. So all you have to use, all you have to set is the priority, and that's it. You're done. Another cool thing is, let me go to the next slide. Another cool thing about this is that if you're using the directive with an image provider and you're not setting the priority, the directive will tell you that maybe you should set it as a priority. It's on the viewport. So this again helps you to make sure that your image is optimized, right?
And when does this show up? Is this something that shows up in your browser's console? Is this build output? When would I see this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, this shows up in your Chrome Developer Console as an error. Actually, it's not a warning; it's an error.
Okay.
Yeah. So even if you forget to set it, Angular will remind you. Okay, let's move on to the next feature, which is the placeholder. So this attribute helps you to manage how a placeholder can be used while the image is loaded or still being fetched. So this on its own provides a much better user experience. If you're using a CDN like Cloud Binary that supports image resizing. you should automatically receive a low resolution image for the placeholder, and you don't need to set any value for the placeholder attribute. Okay. Now, if you want, you can also use a base64 encoded format here. If you don't want to use a low resolution image that comes from the provider, and use that as your base64 placeholder. So let me show you how this looks. Doesn't seem to render it. I don't know. Can you see this? It's supposed to be what is it called?
Are we looking for a white rectangle?
No. So it's supposed to be what is it? It's supposed to be a spinner that you're supposed to see, but it seems StreamYard is not able to properly show this through the slides. I can
Wait,
show it.
are those live previews then?
It's an animated GIF. Sorry.
Okay.
That I had put in there. Yeah. It's not, for some reason, it's not visible here, but if I show it to you in the browser, the slides, you'll see it. We can go through it after the demo, after the presentation in the demo.
Justin, give it the spinner. Give it the spinner.
I can't draw on it.
Come on, Justin.
Do my finger on this
Visualizing.
Look, I'm the spinner. I'm assuming it's round. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. It could be one of these.
Right. Like the logo that bounces between the corners.
We're optimizing your animated GIF.
Don't you feel so optimized?
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said previously, right, the Angular team takes developer experience very seriously. So, if you're using a base64 that is super long, longer than 4,000 characters, then you will get a warning saying that your base64 is supposed to be less than 4 kilobytes. Okay. So again, something that helps you to improve your images. Yeah, great. This is again another of those slides that has a really nice demo or a really nice GIF that I would like to show you, but you can't see it. So when you're using placeholders, by default they are blurry. Okay, that's by purpose. So it shows that the image is still being loaded and gives a nice impression to the user that the image is coming. Now you can disable this if you wanted to by setting the placeholder config. So you would just set it to blur.false, and then this is what you see. So imagine this the spinner previously being blurry and now not being blurry. Okay. Yeah. So this kind of completes the priority and placeholder topic. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So previously I mentioned cloud binary and CDN providers and so on. So the benefit of such a provider is that it will automatically create multiple versions of your images. Okay. And that's a huge plus because it will help the directive and tell the browser to download the right size for your device. To do this, you need to set the loader in your provider's array. Okay, so you do it like this. By default, Angular provides 5 pre-configured loaders that you can use. So here's a list of all providers, and obviously you can provide your own provider as well. So for that, you will need to provide image loader dependency token and a loader function that takes the image loader config as an argument and returns the absolute URL of the image. So you import both of these from the Angular common package. Additionally, there is a loader params attribute available that can be used from the directive. Okay, so from the directive, you can pass params into the loader function. This parameter is part of the image loader config and contains anything you want to pass from your directive into the function. So for example, here's how this could look. So first, we add the loader params property into the element and define the value we want to pass through. And this is how you would basically change your function, right? So in our own function, we can then use the property to modify the behavior of our loader. In this case, I'm adding the rounded corners query parameters to the URL. Okay.
So this would be if your provider where you're hosting your images supports things like this, then whatever they support, you could flow that through.
Correct. Yeah. It's pretty good because it's pretty cool because you can pass all of those things, from the image itself, right? So you can have different behaviors for different images, right?
That's cool.
So now for any of these loaders to work, you also need to add the pre-connect links to your index.html. The pre-connect gives the browser instructions, again, to download critical resources as soon as possible, okay? So this is, again, like Justin said, another little thing that helps the browser to be more efficient. And without that, the browser has to additional work to discover that. And, like, again, previously said, Angular helps you with that. If you forget to do it, you will get an error message or warning, right? Cool. All right, let's go to the next thing, which is responsive images. Okay, so the directive supports responsive images out of the box, okay? It will automatically set the source set attribute with the necessary information, giving the browser instructions to download the best possible image based on your user's device, okay? This can work with or without the size attribute. So if you set up your image without the size attribute, the directive will automatically generate the density dependent source set, okay? Now what that means? That means that 1x image will be automatically downloaded by the browser on low pixel density screens, okay? And 2x for high density screens. A higher density or device pixel ratio, what they call it, on screens generally means a higher pixel count and a better image quality, okay? So here we can see that the source set is, so this is automatically generated, okay? So one is for 400 and one is for 800. Now, in Chrome Developer Tools, you can actually set the density to test this. So to give you an idea, most newer iPhones have a DPR set to 3, and obviously for some reason, Android is always ahead of the iPhone, although it's a lot cheaper. They're either on 3 or already higher on 4, okay? Okay, so if we look at our previous examples, this is how you set the density. You can see in the top right corner, the density is set to 1, and you see that it automatically downloads the 400 by 400 image, okay? And when you're using density 2, it will download the 800 by 800 image. And again, this works out of the box in conjunction, again, with your image provider, right? So you don't have to do anything. So I'll let that sink in. Think about it, right? So you're on your device, you're on your iPhone, and you see the image is super sharp using the directive, and you didn't have to do anything, right? So that already gives you users a much better user experience, right?
Yeah, it's really cool just like going next level and really thinking about your images and how you work with them, right? And traditional, anybody's been doing web development for years and years and years, it's like I slap an image tag, I got that. Maybe I need different sizes or whatever, but like we're really going deep into thinking about all the things, right?
Yeah.
And the density is a big thing that's really cool that this thing provides out of the box that probably most people are not even thinking about addressing, right? So now we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, considering that, everything is on devices these days, right? I do a lot of my work on my iPhone. And, if I see a super sharp website with nice images and all of that, obviously it makes me want to stay there longer, right?
Mhm.
So adding the sizes has a similar effect. Here I am setting the image to 80% of the viewport. Now it will automatically generate the source set for all available breakpoints. Okay. So here's the list of breakpoints, just in case you're wondering. So these are all the different image sizes it will generate for you automatically. Okay. And this is how it's going to look. Now imagine you would have to write this all manually.
And that would just be for one image. You'd have to do it for all your images, right? If you're doing
Yeah.
it manually.
Right. So you can see, when you inspect the image element, this is super helpful. You don't have to worry about providing the different sizes yourself. And as previously seen, the browser will automatically request an image that fits best for your device. And it's going to do that based off your viewport. So the higher the image here is, the better quality you have, right? And again, if you only support a subset of breakpoints, then you can customize this list, right? So you can do this by providing the image config DI token to your provider. So this is how you would do it. Essentially, you just provide the necessary breakpoints, and the directive, will understand that and only generate the source set image only for those breakpoints.
Do you guys know if this works on browser resize, like window resize, or do you think it just happens on load?
No, that's a good question. It actually works on resize as well. So as you resize your browser, it will download a better image, like with a higher quality, or a smaller image based on your viewport.
But it's only based on size of viewport, not based on network speed or other.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So you can also use media queries, okay, to control the image size. Okay. So you have the viewport, and then you can also use media queries. A very common approach is to render multiple columns, for example, on the desktop, while rendering a single column on a mobile, right? So here, for example, the directive will use 100, I believe 100, I said here. Yeah, 100 viewport as a factor to download the image on the viewport with maximum 768 pixels. Okay, you can see that on the in the element here I defined, and 50% viewport on anything else. So what that means is that when two columns are displayed, then the image will be smaller because you have a smaller viewport, right? And when it's a single column, you'll actually get a larger image. So setting the sizes with the media queries can be quite helpful, but it's also not easy to do it. So you have to be really familiar with the media queries. Okay, so we did discuss a lot and saw many screenshots, or many of them you didn't see. I wanted to give a demo and show you how this would look. So let me see if I can I share my browser here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if I can present your screen.
Right. I think this is your browser showing now.
Yeah, exactly. So where is it? Hold on 1 second. I need to move it a bit. Are you able to see the network tab?
I do not see the network tab currently.
That is unfortunate. Okay. that's where the juicy part is.
We got to see the juicy part.
Yeah. You still don't
Might have
see it,
to.
right?
You might have to, like, instead of sharing the window, share full screen or something, if possible.
I can try. It's a widescreen.
Okay. Let's give it a go.
Let me move the windows around a bit. Let me do that.
Sounds
Might
good.
be better. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so
I see you
screen.
roll with a widescreen. I personally couldn't handle that much space. Couldn't do it. Too much.
Yeah, it's not great for screen sharing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. All right, we do see your network tab now, but if you bump up the font size for us.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
I'll put this on the right. Okay.
Yay! We have network tab.
Never been happier.
Right?
Okay, so let's go through this. So this is what we're going to do here. This is the first example. I'm using the normal image element with no priority set. So let's look at the network tab. Okay, let's refresh. Go to image. Okay, let me open what I had described before. Big request rows. Okay, so here, as you can see, the priority is first set to low, right? And then the browser discovers that it's an on-screen image. It's within the viewport and automatically sets it to high, right? So let me show you how this will look with priority. So this is with priority. Let me refresh this. Okay, there you go. You see, because I have set fetch priority to high, the first or the initial priority and the final priority is automatically set to high, right? Giving me, giving the browser instruction again to download it as soon as possible. Okay. And this is, again, this is how you would do it with the ng directive, okay? Okay. Another thing I want to tell you is that you see the second image here at the bottom is half in the viewport, half not. So it sets it automatically to low. Okay. And also this one doesn't have the priority set. Cool.
Yes, I think I'm with you. I was just distracted by that logo. I'm back. I'm back now. It's so beautiful.
It is
Did you
cool.
make it? The without priority logo. I'm digging it. I'm digging its colors.
There you go. Okay, so now if I were to inspect this, okay, let's inspect this. So we can see, you know, it added lazy loading here automatically, okay, because it was not in the viewport. Okay, it was a little further down. So now if I inspect this guy here, see, it said loading to eager. Okay, and the fetch priority is set to high, which because we set this one. Okay, so we can see the difference here, right? One is loaded eager, the other one is not.
And that's the directive doing that under the hood for us, right? Yep.
Correct. You don't need to do anything, right?
Well, except for, I suppose, the difference between like saying priority and not, right? Because that's
Yeah, you should know when to use what, obviously. Yeah. That's why we're doing the presentation.
Is there like a rule of thumb of like only have 2 priority images or not really?
No, there's nothing like that. No.
Okay.
If it's in the viewport, you have like a bunch of images maybe on the top, and you want to show all of them, by all means, set the priority to all of them.
Oh, can you show us the there were 2 GIFs that we couldn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was part. I was like, we gotta go back.
Yeah. 100%. I'll do that. So
you.
let's go to the next one first. So LCP warning, right? So again, this is a useful warning added by the Angular team to make sure that you don't forget to add the priority on the images. So here, this is how it would look. I don't know if I will get it now or not. Let me see if I can resize this maybe a little bit.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to reproduce right now on my end.
Were you trying to get it like out of the viewport or something?
Yeah, exactly. It sometimes works right away. So I've seen there's some issues with this.
Same.
Yeah, doesn't seem to work.
But like also I always thought it was the browser I was using. Like I didn't blame NgOptimizedImage. I was always like, it's probably my browser. So.
Yeah.
Because I'm like messing with the viewport and I'm like, I know you're in it or I know you're out of it, right? Like I can see you.
Yeah.
Right.
That is true.
All right.
So
I do feel bad though, because placeholder, I don't think I utilized to the fullest. I saw your
Yeah, so that these are the images that we're missing on the slides. So let's take a look at these. So first I want to show you the base64 loader that will look if you're running on a slow network. So let me see. There you go. Did you see that?
Yeah, we saw it. That was great.
Yeah. And then look at this warning here you see already, right? Angular is telling you that my base64 data URL is longer than 4,000 characters, right? And it's saying this is discouraged, right?
It's very judgmental. Like, your base64 needs to lose some weight, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, at least it didn't say this is wrong. It's like this is discouraged. Like you could do it if you want to do it, but maybe it should say we encourage you to use a smaller size.
Do you all use base64 image types like a lot? Like, is this a thing I'm missing out on? Like,
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that we should like just mention a little bit about that for viewers that maybe are like, what the heck, base64? Why? What is it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
It's
a good question.
Are you guys all the time using it, or because I've heard of it and that's the most I've ever.
Yeah. I've started to use it right before NgOptimizedImage or before I got into this presentation. I did not use it, to be honest. But thinking about this, like having the image right in your HTML where the browser doesn't have to download it, right? The image is right there, right? So it gives you much better experience already.
But with this warning, is it possible to have any image under the 4,000 count? Like, is that just something that you need to do on your end to like optimize the inline?
Yeah. You need to do that. Yeah.
Because I'm wondering like, that image is too big or too complex, so you can't have it under 4,000. Like, I didn't know if that was a thing.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's this way to do that.
But keep in mind, this is just a warning. In that, hey, I really like the optimized side of being able to inline my image within my HTML, but I'm at actually 4,023 characters. You know what? I'm okay with that 23 characters going over.
I see. Yeah,
but it's just a kind of like the breakpoint of, hey, does it make sense to inline your image or to make a separate network request.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really the key there, right? With the base64 is that we're putting it into the DOM, right, or into the HTML that we're delivering. So whatever's delivering the HTML string, which is either your component bundle or maybe the actual index HTML file or whatever, like it's coming with that payload to the user, so it's already there. It's not another network request to get an image, right? So it's kind of a nice little trick to do, sort of thing like that. And then also in CSS and stuff, if you want to do kind of like little glyphs or anything like that, you can base64 some stuff and reduce your network calls. Yeah.
Do any of you know the difference though between like a base64 image or like an inline SVG? Like, is there a difference? I know obviously they're different things, but as far as like performance and like.
Yeah, I think SVG will automatically resize its image as you change the viewport, right? At least that's how I feel. And I'm not too familiar with SVGs.
Yeah, the browser obviously needs to render the instructions of an SVG, but I think that browsers are pretty optimized for SVGs. It's also going to be smaller size because it's instruction set versus put pixels here or what have you, depending upon. I don't know the difference between the different image formats, so I don't want to try and talk to that. But I think it's more so the difference between instructions of how do you paint a picture versus, hey, this is the picture, put it here.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for that, Mark. All right, are we good for the next section? Let's go to, so we've seen this with the blur, I believe. Let's go to the next one with the config, and you can see that the image, the blur was not there, right? So I can try to make this, where is my URL toggler? Yeah, let's try this. There you go. You see that? So that's
so
non-blur.
No blur.
No blur, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
Do it again! One more time! Please, sir!
Let's see the blur one.
The blur one?
Okay, that was a non-blur. Now show me the blur. I'm gonna not blink.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, never mind. I don't need it.
Is it just me? Is it actually blurred? I'm getting old. Can't tell.
Also, hello, chat. I see all of you. You're all beautiful. Hey, Esther. Thanks for sharing, Danny. I guess Danny's passing around the link to our podcast. Excellent. So whether you are live viewing us or in the recording, it's good to see you all. Hello. All right. So sorry, I distracted us. So we were talking about blur versus no blur. Continue.
Blur or no blur? Yeah. That's the question. Blur or no blur? Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next section, to responsiveness. Again, this is supported out the box. Let me disable my guy here. Disabled. Yeah. Okay. So you can see by looking at the out of the box support, enable. So you can enable the DPR here, or set the DPR, right? So right now it's set to 1. Let's try to take a look at the image. So right now it's 200 by 200 at the bottom right. Okay, let me change it to 2 and then refresh and see what happens. Okay, there you go. So 400 by 400 automatically. Right? So that's without you doing anything.
That's cool.
Let's look at the 80%. So in this example, I've set the size probably to 80 view width. That means I want to use 80% of the viewport for the image. And that is what will be set as an image from the directive using the standard breakpoints. You can see the breakpoints again here when I'm looking at the ng source set. So let's inspect this. Here they are. Okay, you see how many breakpoints it has
So
created
cool.
for you. Yeah. And again, you can create your own breakpoints, like I mentioned earlier. And if you look at the downloaded image here, what did it download? This one. And that's pretty big, actually. Let me refresh this. Yeah, it's so big. Let's make it a bit smaller. Yes, so you see it's downloading different images depending on my viewport, right? So the size is less.
I love this.
And now this,
Oh, sorry, you go, Justin.
when we talk about these different sizes and stuff, just to remember that it's our image provider that supports the fact that we can call that image provider and say, hey, I want an image of this size, right? And so under the hood, this directive is when it says like we need size this, this, and this, we're getting those different image sizes because we're using an image provider that supports kind of dynamic call to get those. Like if we didn't have the image provider, we would be also, putting these images at the different sizes we need in place in order for this to come together.
Yeah,
and
correct. So
that's different than the provider that we're like setting whenever you were earlier in the conversation talking about, oh, and here's the providers. And in the Angular docs, like the ones like Justin, that's different from those providers, right?
Yeah. So again, this works hand in hand with the image provider, right? So that's something to be aware of. Yeah. So
I have a question about that. So typically when an Angular application is deployed, you're deploying the assets with the application. Are there any tricks, tips, or anything else to essentially handle deploying to multiple places? You're obviously deploying the application as you normally would, but you then also need to take these assets and publish them to the image handler.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really aware of any tricks there, to be honest. Like that's a different process, right? You would be uploading your assets to an image provider, and then just linking your main image URL to your image elements or image directive, right? So I don't think there's any tricks on that you could use, or anything special. It's just the standard flow you would have to do. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good topic for another show to go into, like image resource management and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan one of those.
Even deployments in
Like,
general.
where's my sticky notes?
Yeah, so here I'm already going into the next section. So here I have set my image provider to only serve 100, 200, and 300 with images, right? So if I look at my image now, the max image I get is automatically 300, right? All right, so let's look at our last example. So here I'm using media queries, and I'm saying again, 100 viewport for the image when the max width is 768. Otherwise, use 50. So let me make this a bit bigger. By the way, did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It downloaded the images, right? So as I resize, it downloads like different images depending on your size, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about that or touched on that, but the fact that like all this configuration is also then on the fly deciding that the native image stuff's deciding when to pull that down, right?
Yeah. And again, everything happens automatically, right? No code. You don't have to write any code to fetch those images and set them on your image element or anything like that. The directive takes care of that for you automatically, right?
This question is going to be probably on the edge of what we're talking about based off of a previous episode that we had. But do we know if the image resource is dependent upon zones? Does it need Zone.js to handle the resize event in order to...
Surely not. There's no way. Absolutely not, Mike. No.
You're just making that up. You don't
I
know.
am making it up based on wishes and hopes and dreams, Mike. We really do need to look into it because that's a really good question. But also that kind of makes me nervous.
It's a good question, but honestly my gut feeling would be no, because Angular's transitioning to move away from Zone.js, right?
I know, that's why I'm saying. And whenever they like started doing the big push for optimized image, they knew that they were like, I know that they knew that far back that they were moving away from zones. So Mike is doubtful. He's like, absolutely not.
And they cut off older browser support and stuff too. So right, I think like everything that's greenfield right now that's on the edge probably supports media queries for containers and stuff like that, and they're probably doing it native.
I do have information that I looked it up because I wanted to give this information at the end. Optimized image was backported all the way back to version 13.4.
Does that mean it supports IE or what?
I don't have that cross data available. I gotta run later.
Oh my gosh. I wanted to bring up some comments. There's some funny stuff in the chat and some serious stuff. Monocode Lisa earlier was talking about with the blur effects. She's never seen blur being used on a loader so far, like in a live app. I don't know that I have either. Have you guys seen it in the wild?
Well, maybe they need to use a slower connection and stop having such a fast connection.
Calling people out in the chat. Jeez, Mike. Afsar said, what if we don't have an 80 view width? I don't know what this means. I'm going to need more information if I'm decoding this question.
Yeah, so size is required actually, right? Yeah, so you need to set the size.
I think that question may have been if they don't have an image that supports the 80 view width, and
that's what they meant?
Maybe you have like 70 and 90, but not 80.
Does it fall back?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it just pick one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wouldn't know. I would have to double check on that.
Oh, I'm very curious now. I want to basically give it like 3 and then see what happens at all of them.
Well, someone's got the repo up. You can grab the repo and
exactly
pull it down and try it out.
Yeah.
Also, I see you're using Cloudinary. Yeah, you like
Cloud binary.
Good sis. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it works out of the box. All I had to do is upload an image. And it did all the resizing by itself, everything.
That's really where what I need in my life, because this is kind of overwhelming. Because I was imagining like making all of these image sizes, and it kind of makes me want to throw up.
I would imagine that the documentation for whichever image provider you're using, just make sure that the widths and the sizes that you're using coordinate with the sizes that your image provider makes available.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're gonna have to talk to your team.
So I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. We'll probably.
Oh crap! Dang it! Sorry, guys. I was like not at all looking at the clock. I love this topic.
Awesome. Yeah, we're actually done with the presentation and the demo. Like I said, and like Justin said, go ahead, download the repo, play around with it. Feel free to add comments to the GitHub repo. If there's anything you saw that you think might be good to add or to clarify, I would be happy to discuss that.
Thank you so much. Boys, do you have any advice for Ayush? If not, we can answer that when we're offline, like maybe post an answer. But I personally do not. And I asked how to optimize LCP with fonts. I used everything available and I'm still having problems. So this was an earlier question. I said, hopefully we'll have time for, where was it? Oh yeah, to fix LCP with Google Fonts. So yeah, have any of you used that? Do we have any advice on the fly, just randomly off the top of our heads?
That sounds like another episode.
It does. I know we've got like 3 new episodes out of this of like topics. So
the only thing that I always remembered when I was using Google Fonts is to use a CDN to optimize that as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Yes. CDN, pre-connect, and all of that, right?
Reconnect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do any of you panelists, guests, have pick for this week? Anything that you want to highlight?
No, just with optimized image, use it. And then you can always increase how much you're using and how much you're configuring it. But get started using it, because even the out of the box support is helpful.
Yeah, because I think that by default, you just need height and width, right? Like that's the two, and then you can use it. I think everything else is like layered on as far as
right. Yeah. Yeah, and again, set the priorities on your images, that are in the LCP, in the viewport, right? That makes a big difference. You're telling the browser to do less work so it can do other things quicker, right?
All right. Anybody else? Any other picks?
Yeah, I do.
Tell us.
I'm getting a little emotional. Sorry. So back in the day, years and years and years ago, I used to get paid for writing code, and I really wanted to create content. I had a blog post back when .NET days. I want my MVC.com. I'd write content there, and I just always envisioned at some point maybe getting paid to create content. Well, the article I wrote for .NET Slackers for Sonu was my first paid content creation job, and it really meant a lot to me to kind of kickstart the fact that I could do something in that space. So I just wanted to reminisce on that. And that's my pick was writing that article. I think it was on RavenDB or something. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
So Sonu, so appreciate it. You opened the door for me and really gave me that momentum and excitement about it. So thank you. I have the actual stub payment receipt in a frame still.
Oh my God.
It was the first time I got paid for content creation. So it was exciting. So it meant a lot to me. So thank you.
That. Oh, thank you. And that was a beautiful story. Thank you. All right, Mike, Sonu, anything you want to highlight from this week, from recently, technical, not technical?
No, not really. I'm good. Well, thank you for having me, I would say, right?
I got nothing. I'm pickless.
Thank you all. Did you say pickles?
Pickless.
Pickless. Okay. I thought he was going to highlight pickles.
Still
and that made me really happy for a moment.
There's a pickle festival in Pittsburgh next week, and so you brought up pickles. There's the pickle content.
Thank you so much. And God bless chat. You've all been amazing today with your questions and comments. We're going to have a word from our sponsors and sign off, but we'll see you for the next Angular Air. And thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Angular Air is sponsored by Kendo UI for Angular. We have over 100 components built from the ground up in Angular or each framework and library that it's built for. So not only do we have Angular on the JavaScript side, but we have Kendo UI for React, jQuery, and Vue as well. And if you're on the .NET side of life, we have things for Blazor, Maui, WPF, and so much more. All of our libraries are themable, customizable, and of course come with killer professional support. So try it out for free today at kendoui.com.